Good morning. I'm downtown Logan Brown,
I'm Braydon.
and this is the Pickleball Effect Podcast.
So today we're going to hit some hot topics. So there's a lot of things going on right now, a lot of discussions about kind of random things. It's all over the place, but we're going to hit a bunch of those. Then we're going to go into Paddle Babble, talk a little about the Gearbox launch and some other paddles that are coming out. And then with the PPA event this week and the Shuffle Draft, there's some pro stuff we want to talk about with Joe's Talking Pros.
Let's get into it. All right, so Braydon, we got to talk about these line calls, man. The refs are really, excuse my French, but I'll bleep this out, shit in the bed, and I don't like it. I don't like it. So what can we do here?
It keeps coming up over and over, and it's just not getting resolved. And watching, yes, there's bad line calls, but like the refs aren't being helped. Like the video footage they get is inconclusive. It's blurry. It's hard to tell. But I do think there's some things they could do to improve it. Especially for the refs themselves. I feel like they're under a lot of pressure to get the call right. They're feeling pressure from the players. And their call can almost be biased sometimes. Plus, they just have these small little screens. Like I don't think they have, some like a bigger screen where they can review the calls
like on their iPhone,
tablets.
In.
Like pinching in, trying to figure it out. And there was several moments this weekend where I felt there were line calls that should have been overturned that didn't. And even the people in the booth talking were like saying, yeah, like that should have been overturned, but it wasn't. And like there's some flaw in the system here, and we need to improve it. And we were talking about this before we hopped on, and we both agree that it would be very beneficial if there was some sort of person or like where the footage or the decision is made off court, so that the pressure is taken off the ref. They have the proper equipment, bigger screens where they can slow down the footage and can control that. Where the ref. And then they just tell the ref, what the call is, and then the players can't get mad at the ref. And I feel like that would alleviate a lot of pain. And that was your idea, and I was all on board for it.
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know how I feel about that. I think, like with the NFL, when they say like this call's going to New York, PPA's in Dallas, whatever, like just have somebody who like does this. This is their job every weekend. They're watching. It's not going to work for like the random courts that are going on, but for championship court specifically, or maybe even the grandstand, if it's being recorded,
get it right.
And the one thing I will say about the refs that I really think they do a great job with, this is why you would keep a human there. They almost never get a foot fault wrong. Like when you're watching they're
on top of that.
Yeah, they really do
almost to a fault. Like they almost overpay attention to the foot faults,
to the feet. Yeah,
and they don't see the line calls as well.
And they also just don't have a great point of view. Like maybe they do it like tennis, where you give these guys those big chairs, like lifeguard chairs, because that
vantage point or something.
Yeah. Did you see the Roscoe Bellamy call from a week ago at ABP? The singles.
Oh, it was terrible. It was like an inch or two. It was a serve, right? And it was like a game point serve.
And it I know what you're saying. Like the video footage is not that great, but this was pretty easy to see.
It's pretty blatant.
Yeah, and the ref who made the call was on the side the ball was out on. How are you supposed to see whether the ball
did they review that one? Because I know that it went against him, but I wasn't sure. Did they review it?
Yeah, and they
reviewed it and just got it wrong.
They kept their call. I mean, I think it's because they didn't want to. I think they have to kind of like keep that up, because if they overturn their own calls, they do that too many times, like they're going to lose trust, and the players are going to take advantage of them. But that's why I think you can take it off site and maybe just leave them there to ensure they're enforcing any rules, calling the score out, because that helps with pace.
Yeah.
And calling the line calls or not the line calls, but the foot faults, like they do a pretty good job with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They just got to get, it just seems like such a simple thing, and it just feels very odd that it's not right yet. And like we keep bringing up Beer City Open, like, and how well that was done, how clear the video was. Like, why is that not happening at the PPA events? Like, why is the video so grainy? Like, You're investing so much money in this. Is it really that much more? I mean, obviously I don't know the numbers, but I feel like the cost would be marginal.
I'm not sure. I imagine it has to do with the camera they're using, the main camera that's zoomed out from the back. And then they also have it seems like they have some cameras that are on the lines. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe just a couple of side cameras, but I wonder if they're just not up to snuff, and then owning those cameras are just so expensive.
I mean, I'd be surprised if the PPA owns those cameras. They're probably paying some production company to do this.
I think it's that Boxcar Media that
they need to get on Boxcar and tell them to fix it. There shouldn't even be a cost for the PPA. They just need to tell Boxcar to up their game there. And if they don't do better, go find somebody else, because obviously whoever did Beer City Open is very capable and can do it.
I think Boxcar did Beer City. I just don't know what the difference is.
Well, yeah, what's the difference then?
I don't know. I mean, you're asking a great question. I'm just not sure what the difference was between what we saw at Beer City and now what we see for the various APP and PPAs. So I'm pretty sure Boxcar has, or maybe they will next year. I thought I saw there was a contract signed for them. So
yeah, just a silly repeated offense, just over and over. This conversation has just come up again and again. It's not being resolved, and they need to fix it.
Boom, get it fixed.
Yeah. So another topic that has been coming up lately is balls, and so we've talked about balls a little bit in the past. I feel like this is picking up steam, and a lot of people are starting to question what the best ball is and why Duras are so popular. So to set the scene, the two most popular balls are the Franklin X-40, and then I think Onyx owns the Dura, right? Yeah. The Dura 40 or something. And so the Dura is the ball that is used in pro events, PPA events, at both the pro and amateur level. And then if you go to a tournament that's not using a Dura, it's going to be using a Franklin X-40. And so those are the two balls that are in the tournament scene, which is part of the reason I think they're so popular. But there's a big difference between the two. So the Dura is known for playing faster, but being less durable. It cracks, it gets out around easy. But there's no other ball out there that supposedly plays as fast as the Dura. And the Franklin's it's a little softer. It's going to compress a little more at impact. You can feel the ball a little bit more. It's harder to put more pace on it, but it's more durable. It holds its shape better, has a better color. The color of the Onyx is this yellowish color that's kind of hard to see sometimes, especially in low light scenarios. But people are starting to question why the Dura is so popular when it cracks so easily. It's expensive. I think it's over $3 a ball. But
it becomes an egg. It
becomes an egg, great. Right? And people joke around that a Dura plays at its best in its egg form. But people just have accepted the Dura as this go-to ball. And so Selkirk is now making a big push into the ball scene with I think they were calling it their Pro S1. So I played with that. They sent me some. I've hit them, and it plays more similar to a Franklin than it does a Dura. It does get, I know durability, I'm not sure yet. I wasn't as big of a fan of the color of it. It was this kind of more dull green, whereas the Franklin's kind of this neon green, a little easier to see. But I did think it played a little faster than the Franklin. It did feel a little firmer, but I still think the Dura is kind of the king of speed, which seems to be the most attractive thing for pros. And with his points as long as they are now, having that Dura, the finish points, you need something that's going to play a little faster and harder. And so it makes sense why they play with it. But at the amateur level, people are starting to question the Dura. And what's your perspective on balls? Do you only play certain balls? Do people push back if you try to introduce something else?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I'm playing a lot of rec play, and I'm also very down to hop into a random game, right? And so some people are very tied to their group or whatever, but I'll hop in with random people every now and then. And I think when you pull out the yellow ball, some people are oh, are you using an indoor ball? It's the first thing they ask sometimes is, are you using an indoor ball? No.
If it's ball. Wait, what do you mean a yellow one? The Dura?
Yeah, the yellow Dura. If you have the yellow Dura and you try to bring it on court, sometimes people are I don't know if you the classic indoor ball that people use at basketball gyms is also a yellow ball.
Yeah.
But it's thicker.
It looks very different though.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's oh, what is that? Because around here, the Franklin X-40 is probably the ball of choice for.
So the Dura's not as popular.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I think because, listen, the tournament players, the guys who are playing the guys and girls who are playing tournaments will use the Dura because that's what they're going to play at
That's the
tournaments.
tournament
But
ball, yeah.
like at the court that's by my house, like I would say that 95% are all playing X40s because they're not going to turn into eggs. And around here in like 99-degree weather, I feel like the Dura has become mush pretty fast.
I mean, every ball becomes mush in that weather, but the Dura, I think, holds its shape the best in hot weather. I think that's another
You
kind of benefit
do?
of the Dura. Yeah,
I don't know, man.
if I go hit a yellow Dura and a Franklin on a 90-degree day, the Dura is going to play faster. Not going to squish as much as a Franklin. But you don't think so?
I'm just saying I've played. Maybe it's the South where there's like all this humidity or something, but I definitely just don't have that experience. Like the Dura always I pick it up off the ground and all of a sudden it's lumpy, and it's just I do not have the same experience with the X40.
Well, yes, it does get out around and lumpy, but it's firmer like when you push on it. Is that?
Yes. Why?
That's
about? Weird. Why is that?
I don't know. Whatever plastic they use is probably just a little bit different.
But if it's harder, why is it getting lumpy?
I don't know. Maybe it's because it's a thinner plastic, but it does get out around quicker. But I do think there's room for disruption. But in order for a ball to get popular, I think they have to get into tournaments. Like the Selkirk has a lot of influence. If they want their ball to be popular, they have to start becoming, they have to start sponsoring tournaments. It has to be the ball of tournaments. And then people will start buying it, using it, prepping it, and will like accept it as a mainstream ball. But I think if you're a ball that is trying to make a play, at the recreational level, like it's hard to get through. Like it's just like so ingrained. I feel like it's so established that the X40 and the Dura are the balls you use. But there's other balls that I've heard people talk about that they say are good. Like the Diadem one has a good reputation.
Oh yeah.
Gearbox just came out with a new one that I guess is okay. There's like a Wilson True 32 or something. I guess it's decent. I guess there's like a Pen 40 that's I've heard good things about. But I honestly haven't experimented a ton outside of the X40 and Dura because it's just what people use, and it's just what's used in tournaments, and it's just kind of like generally accepted. But I do think there's someone's going to break through. I think Selkirk could do it. They have the resources, they have the influence to get into tournaments, and I think this new ball is definitely better than their original SLK competition or whatever they called it. I wasn't a fan of that one. I thought it was pretty wimpy.
I'll have to get my hands on one because I think what you're saying is definitely true. But from the recreational side, like all these, and I'll tell you something kind of funny about the recreational side that I think might be missed by some of our listeners. There was like one of the biggest tournaments locally was happening this weekend. However, I went to the court on Saturday morning. I wasn't playing in it, but a friend of mine reached out and wanted to warm up before his match with his mixed partner. So we went Saturday morning to like my court that's near my house.
Mm-hmm.
Slam packed. 10 a.m. There is, like I said, there's 8 courts full. We have an entire rack full. That's 4 courts worth, plus 2 stacks on the ground at 10 a.m.
Sounds miserable.
But I'm just saying, like, none of those players except, like, I would ask random people, are you playing tournament? Playing tournament? No one's playing, except for the guy I was
still using X40s?
Well, I only meant to say there's a massive group of people that don't play in tournaments.
Yeah, that probably, yeah. Like, could someone break into that group without
being a tournament ball? And like last year, the reason other balls came into play was because we started to feel the pain with the X40. We don't have a lot of indoor courts, so like in the winter, when the sun goes down, all of a sudden it gets in the 40s and you're playing. We were cracking X40s like crazy, and so we started to move to the core ball, which is a little thicker.
Flaws that way, yeah. Like the core ball is kind of known for being like a cold weather ball. But yeah, like the Franklin's only good in certain temperatures, and once it gets too hot, like I feel like a Franklin just gets mushy, like a Captain Crunch ball that's been sitting in milk for too long.
Oh man, okay.
And Duras I think play better in high temperature places, but yeah, you're right. There's definitely a weather component to it. Like once you get colder, like you need a softer ball, even softer than the Franklin.
Yeah, it would be nice though if there was like, I get the competition and the free commerce, I'm all about it, but these balls seem to play so differently that it throws people off when they have to use different ones in various
Yeah,
settings.
there is true. Like I do value consistency because I do think that balls play differently. It changes game. Like you can feel a Franklin better. Like I can control a Franklin better than I can a Dura. My drops are going to be tighter. My dinks are going to be better with the Franklin than with a Dura. Like a Dura just plays hotter and you have to adjust.
Well, how about this? In your local area, which ball do you play with? Which ball do you prefer to play with?
Yeah, because I bet balls are regionalized. Like it's obviously that way with you. Like Duras isn't really a thing there. So yeah, that's a great question. And I do think there's opportunity for innovation around like making the game quieter with balls. There was a big announcement recently that I forgot about this. I don't think we ever talked about it. USAP announced a rule allowing, I think they're calling it a quiet category for paddles and balls.
Oh yeah,
so
okay.
They're going to allow, they're going to like expand the specifications of what you can do to make a paddle quieter or a ball quieter. And it's going to be like its own category. So that will be interesting. And I feel like that's kind of an opportunity for change in balls. Like somebody may come out with a ball that's quieter that plays well still, and it may become, more popular, especially in those places where people complain or like those neighborhood courts. And so there's going to be some innovation around changing the makeup of a ball that's going to make it quieter. So that'll be interesting. This new quiet category.
I'm really interested in it. I don't know how big of an upside there is for someone to put all the R&D into a ball. Like I don't know how many millions you could make over time and how risky it may be with acceptance.
I would think like balls, like Onyx probably makes so much money off balls. Like but
it was kind of like the ball, right? Like if you're a new person coming in, let's say I told you, hey, it's going to cost us $100,000. You got this great idea. It's going to be a quiet ball. Should play similar to other pickleballs. If we had to throw $100,000 into it, do you feel like it would get accepted by the people? Because then you're out.
That's tougher.
A lot of money.
I do think the ball area is probably harder to crack into and become normal than like a paddle, because there are more paddle brands that are kind of generally accepted and used and purchased. Whereas balls, it's a little tighter, smaller market as far as what's available. But maybe that's just because there's no balls that no one's really tried. There's been like Core's made an effort. They're like a ball brand, right? Like Oso's made an effort. They're like a ball brand. So there are people that have tried, but no one's really broken through yet. But maybe because if you can get in, like it's a consumable product. They crack, they break. You have to buy more and more. I spend a lot of money in balls, like especially in a tournament. If you become a tournament ball, like they use hundreds of balls in tournaments. So yeah, it's you can definitely make some money there, and it could be worth the investment if they're legit and can do it.
Do you follow this account called Dutch? I think it's called the Dutch Pickleball Guy.
No,
on Instagram.
About it.
Well, actually, you know what? I think you shared it because he shared our podcast. I think you posted it to your story. This is a funny serendipitous world, but you posted this guy to your Instagram story because he had posted a picture of us from our YouTube account and he was listening to our podcast. I, the night before, had booked my flights to Amsterdam, my wife and I, to go to Amsterdam. And so I saw your story the next day. It says the Dutch Pickleball Guy. I look him up. He lives in Amsterdam. He's like, he seems like, yeah, I connected with him. It seems like he kind of, there's only like a handful of people. Maybe we talked about this in the podcast already. I don't know, but sorry if we did, but there's only a handful of folks that live in Amsterdam and play. But what I was getting at about balls, so let me go back to this. So he posted a story because he lives in like an apartment. So he was trying to like dink against his wall and just like practice in his little tiny apartment. They're tiny in Europe. And he had found this ball and he colored it. One side's like white and black so he could see the spin and just practice on like slice dinks and forehand dinks. But the ball's super quiet. Like the people can't hear it hit the wall or hit the ground or the floor below him. So, and I messaged him about it and he said like, hey, it kind of plays similar to a pickleball, but I've never tried using this on a court in a real game. But if somebody could develop the technology around a ball that's quiet and is also durable and plays really well in an outdoor atmosphere, that could be really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely some opportunity there.
All right, you want to move on to DUPR?
Yeah, moving on to DUPR. Tell us what's going on here.
All right, let me tell you about DUPR. No. All right, so I signed up for DUPR a couple months ago.
Love-hate relationship with them.
Well, I mean, like the pickleball forum seems like every day there's someone complaining about DUPR, but
Does anyone
Regardless,
ever like speak positively about DUPR? Like, are there ever DUPR praise posts? Do you ever see those?
no, I don't see any Duper
only
praise
only
posts.
negative things.
Yeah, only negative things. But I mean, hey, they're getting publicity. But I just wanted to explain my experience with them. So I signed up a couple months ago and got on the platform. And one thing that I was a little peeved with was that I just start out as like NA, like, or just 0-0.
You
I
didn't
have,
get to self rate.
yeah, I didn't get to self rate. And I just think that there's a huge gap because in USTA pickle or tennis, when you sign up for USTA, you self rate yourself. But then it pretty fast, like once you sign up for a league or you get into a tournament, I mean, they know really quickly if you're really the rating you say. You can't really say you're 4-5 and go play 3-5 tournaments. One, you wouldn't be allowed to play 3-5 at that point. And two, if you go get smoked by all the 4-5s, you're going to get bumped and bumped down. So I just think there's too many players I saw locally. The reason I even brought this up is they're playing in like 4-5 tournaments, yet they're rated is like 3.73 on DUPR, and it just feels really silly.
Yeah. DUPR's in a funky stage where it's like it's early on. There's not like a ton of data. Like some areas are better than others when it comes to rating because DUPR's more involved in those areas. So, question for tennis: USTA, is that just like integrated into every league, every tournament? Like it just uses that rating?
Yeah, I mean there is like I think it's called NTR, which is another tennis rating, but like everything that we did while I was living in Virginia here in South Carolina, like every tournament, every league was run through USTA and the matches were logged there automatically.
Yeah, I feel like that's the issue with DUPR, or partly is it's just not integrated into everything, right? Like it's part of some indoor facilities. There are DUPR waterfall events, but I've probably played, I don't know, 8 or so tournaments this year, and the only tournament that got logged into my DUPR was the PPA event that I did, and all the other tournaments they just never made it. And it's because it's not integrated into every tournament, every league. It's hard for it to be accurate and effective. And until that happens, we're just going to keep having issues with it, I think.
Yeah, probably so. But we don't have to go too far on it. I just wanted to say that if you're listening and you're from DUPR, I think you should just allow for a self rating and let it work itself out with match play. And maybe even penalize people who aren't playing. Let's say they rate themselves at 4-5 and they don't log matches.
It just goes down.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you got to play if you want to keep your rating.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's so much DUPR's fault as it is like it's just not everywhere yet. So like I play in Utah. I have a brother that lives in Utah, plays a lot, and they have a lot of indoor facilities, and these indoor facilities are all signed up with DUPR. So every like local tournament, every league, everything they do like open play nights. They call them like DUPR nights, where you go and like you have your DUPR, you play in that set a group. If you do well, your DUPR bumps up. Next time you go to open play, you play with a higher level. And so like they've all logged so many matches that DUPR is actually helpful. Like it's more accurate. People are sorting themselves out, and like they are at a point where like they could create a tournament and you don't sign up for a level. Like you're just sorted like you are in tennis, and it'll get there eventually. Like the idea of DUPR, I think, is sound and solid, but it's just not integrated into everything yet. And it makes it just inaccurate and kind of frustrating that way sometimes. Cause I always hear people like, oh, sandbaggers, these guys have like a 4-5 rating. They're playing a 4-0. I don't always, give merit to those posts. Like, well, maybe they've only logged 5 matches, or maybe, I don't know. You can't always trust you, but there's definitely people who, like at the pro level, like I'm sure the DUPRs are pretty solid. Like it seems like their, game like predictions are typically pretty accurate about who's going to win, and so there's more merit to your DUPR rating there. But for the general public, it's a little more difficult when it's not integrated into everything. But as indoor facilities keep popping up, as DUPR keeps getting more integrated, I do think it'll like I like the idea of it. I think it'll be good. But to your point, like right now it's tough, and if you don't do the self-rating thing, like you told me that story, which I think is kind of funny, where you're like you and your buddy both signed up for DUPR, never logged any matches. You played a team who both have ratings, and then you logged the games, and theoretically you think you and your buddy would have the exact same DUPR because you both were were 0, right? Or like
Yeah.
NA, but you had like 0.1 higher than your friend or something. Like,
Yeah. I
it
came in
just
at like
makes no sense.
4.19. He came in at like 4.07. It was
Yeah.
like,
So,
oh,
like
okay.
that, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's definitely the best we have. Like, I don't know what the alternative is.
No, I don't really need an alternative. I think you're right. Once it gets more integrated, and yeah, like normally with like you like these tournaments too, like the head pro at the club who's putting the tournament on, they're in charge of like logging the matches. So I think just like that integration itself like helps a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And
Yeah.
I wonder if it's difficult to log tournaments in DUPR, or if they have to pay money or something. I don't know. I wish all the tournaments I played in got logged into DUPR, because I don't like doing like rec play DUPR. I think is dumb. I think tournament DUPR or league DUPR matches make more sense. It's more competitive and is a better reflection of your ability than maybe random rec games. But I don't know.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of growth still to happen there, but I imagine it'll get right eventually. So last topic for this one is we want to just this APP tournament. There's a recently or this last weekend, like there was a ton of new folks that signed up to, for the qualifying event to try to get in.
Yep.
And in the podcast, It Feels Right, Nunnery and Adam were talking like, hey, did you know anybody? Did anyone stand out? And I think it was Nunnery that was like, no, like it was like new tennis people. They were just ripping it. Whether they kind of realize it or not, I think this kind of calls out a bigger, maybe not issue, but like an opportunity for players to like brand themselves. I don't feel like very many people are making a big effort on social media, and the ones that do have been like heavily rewarded. Like I think of people like Jill Braverman, who's kind of this mid-tier pro, but a lot of people know who she is just because she makes an effort to do social media, appear on podcasts. She has her own podcast. She's doing content. Even if it's not like crazy high quality, like she's making an effort and more people know who she is. You look at Zane, like he's probably one of the more popular players. He's really fun, cool dude, but he's like a mid-tier guy, and he's more popular than a lot of other, kind of people at the same level as he is. And he makes a big effort. He has his YouTube channel. And so like these people that are making a push social media wise are being rewarded. And I'm surprised more pros don't do it, even like up and comers, or even brands. Like I feel like brands are kind of picky with the players that they promote, who they sponsor. I don't know. What do you think of that?
No, I mean, I'm totally on board with that. I think there's the players themselves that need to do more promotion. I'm sure not everybody kind of understands the marketing aspect, and it takes time to do. But at the very least, I feel like someone like all these players that are trying to make something for themselves, like Kwang Dong is doing a really good job on Instagram recently. Like he's just doing what he knows how to do, and his content right now is just him drilling like crazy. But it's still pretty wild to see him hit these balls. And I think at the very least, they should spin up a YouTube account and an Instagram account, literally take their iPhones, film themselves playing, give a perspective on what they're doing and why they're doing it and what kind of makes them different, whether that's how the style they play or just like if they're the tweener king, right? Or Jack Monroe, who's been doing a lot of fun content where he's like the body bag guy. I thought that stuff was fun, where he just shows highlight clips of him body bagging people he's playing. And like he's lower than mid tier. Like he's still making his way through the top end of APP, and he's playing in PPAs, but like he's creating content for himself, which is great.
Yeah.
So, and then on the other side, like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say like along the same vein, you have like that pickleball guy, Kyle Kazuda, like he's trying to make it around the pro. He gets into events, he qualifies. Doesn't win a ton, but like everyone knows who he is, and it's
his
because
content game is good.
And he makes money. He makes good money doing that. Like he gets a lot of views, tons of action on YouTube, and like there's no reason other players can't do the same thing. I feel like it is time intensive, which is probably part of it.
I still think this is just a part of the grind. Like if you're, especially the young guys who like really aren't maybe having to work a 40-hour week at a full-time job and then go play the tournaments. I think the young folks need to get out there and just like really make a brand for themselves, because it can probably get them to sponsorship faster. There's one race to the top of the player field. Yeah. There's another race to the money, right? How can I make money doing this? so that I don't have to go do the job, the 9 to 5. So, and then I'd
I mean,
like to see the brands get more involved too.
I agree. I think a good blueprint was Christian Alshon. Like he started
Yeah.
doing content early before he was good, and he drew a lot of eyeballs and a lot of interest, and now he's doing well and has a a bigger following, and people are interested to see how Christian does. And so I think he had a nice blueprint, and kind of what you're saying of someone who should start pushing it early.
And I think his average tweener per game has gone down considerably since he branded himself the Tweener King.
Yeah.
But
now he actually tries to win games.
mm-hmm.
All right, we'll move over to Paddle Babble.
Tell us about this Gearbox you tried out.
Yes, I've been hitting the Gearbox a lot now, and they delayed the release, and so I was chatting with them about it. They've been so weird about like what information I can share. Like they don't want me to share the release date. They don't want me to like. They're like, you can show like pictures of the paddle, but don't talk about it too much. And it just seems so dumb to me that they are so cryptic about this paddle launch. Like it's very close. Like, why would you not want people to know the price? Why would you not want people to like kind of know the specs, what to expect about these paddles, and
build the hype,
Yeah, like hype it up. Like, why do you have to be so like someone's not going to go steal your technology a week before release it? And if they do, like, it delays it a week. I don't know. Maybe it's patents. I don't know. But it just seems so silly to me that they don't want this marketing to go out. But in general, I like them. They play nice. As far as Gearbox paddles go, I think these are the best Gearbox paddles. I actually played with the control version today in this little like local tournament. So that's there's this country club about 45 minutes from me. They do like this member guest event every year. So the members invite a guest, and they do a tournament. So I was in a mixed tournament today, and it was this kind of funny scenario with the way this tournament was set up. Like there's typically like a pretty good person, and then someone who wasn't quite the same level as them. And so there's this like discrepancy in levels.
Yeah.
And it was kind of this battle of who could take over and kind of take advantage of the lesser level person a little better than the other team in some cases. But it was still really, really fun. Like everyone knows each other. Everyone's just hanging out. Like if you lose, like no one cares. You just stay and watch. And it was just a lot of fun, a really cool facility. And I think there's probably a big future for pickleball in, country club type, formats. Like it makes sense that it fits in there. And so this country club specifically is investing a ton in pickleball, and like they're building this really cool. They're going to have like I think it was like 14 total courts when they're done. They have 4 dedicated right now, and they're going all in. So they used to have a bunch of tennis courts. They're just going to have one tennis court, and they're putting a bunch of pickleball. And pickleball is cool that way, right? Like you can fit 4 courts in this where one tennis court was. So it's more like economical for the country club. Like they can get more bang for their buck as far as space wise. But it was a really fun day. My partner Jess was fantastic. She played lights out, and we ended up taking third, and I was really happy. But I was just playing just crazy aggressive, which was a little unlike me. I was gripping and ripping in, and
with a control
the Gearbox. I played with the control model, but it's more of an all court. Like it still hits pretty hard.
So for the people that are out, like, well, for me specifically, but for everybody else, I still don't totally understand. Like, what is the big difference between this Gearbox and let's say the new Luxx that's coming out from Selkirk? Is it really is it all really? I know thickness of the Luxx, but is it just the polypropylene core and the other one's not?
Yeah, it's just cores. The way they're designed is very different. So they're both edgeless, right?
Yeah, I think that's why in my mind they kind of seem like
the Luxx has the polypropylene, so it's just one solid plastic sheet in there, and then carbon they do like rows of carbon fiber. So if you were to peel the face off, you'd see like it would look like corn rows of carbon fiber laid up. But I'm not 100% of the build of these yet. They still haven't filled me in on that. But yeah. Carbon fiber is known for being a little stiffer and absorbing more than polymer, and polymer has been a little more responsive. But something Gearbox did made these paddles a little more responsive, and so definitely bringing some new life to Gearbox, and it was really fun. I was I was cranking it, it was dipping, it was staying low, and I really enjoyed it. But the Luxx, this is like another example of brands being cryptic about these paddle launches. Like I know when these paddles are being launched, but I'm not allowed to say when, and I'm not allowed
Don't
to say
dare
like what the
say it.
price is. I'm not allowed, like there's these weird like embargoes on the information of these paddles. But it's like I don't understand. It makes I guess they want to control the narrative around it, maybe.
But it's also so funny because I saw online somebody was saying they weren't really allowed to be playing with it on video or something. I don't know if this is true. Did you hear this as well?
I think you can share pictures and stuff of it now. I have the S2 Epic and Invicta coming this week, so but I'll be sharing pictures, I think. And I think especially since now they released that video of Jack Sock holding the Luxx and playing. It looks like that's the paddle he's going to play with, and so I don't think it's a secret of what it looks like, and it looks nice. Selkirk is good at making their paddles look nice.
Yeah, I think it looks cool too. It's just ever since you brought up the Power Air and how you were saying it's a very difficult paddle for a lower level player to like control, it just makes me wonder, like, is this going to be a similar scenario where, although it's more forgiving, is it still going to be
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a little more niche. Like this is kind of an interesting topic. I want to get your take on this about forgiveness of a paddle. So when I'm testing paddles, I'm playing with people who can rip the schnoz out of it. They're all really good. The speed ups blocks are a big part of the game. The ball's fast, it's hot, and then when the ball's moving faster, that's when forgiveness comes into play the most for me. So like if I'm trying to reset a ball or block a ball from the midcourt, I can your paddle's going to twist a little more on off center hits because the ball's moving faster, and I can tell when a paddle is more or less forgiving pretty easily. And sometimes you can just physically feel the paddle twist, or you can just the ball just doesn't quite come off as good. But when I play when I play with in games where the ball isn't so fast, and maybe it's a little lower level, it's more recreational, we're just having fun, and we're not just like ripping the crap out of the ball. A paddle like these are gonna feel more forgiving. So the specific experience I'm thinking of is when I was reviewing the Yola Perseus 14 millimeter. So I was playing with my brother in Utah. I was hitting the paddles. We played in some pretty competitive matches, and I was like, man, this thing just isn't giving me the pop I want around the edges. I wish it was a little more forgiving. And then once those games were over, the courts filled up, and I just was talking to people and just played some games and just chill. But like these were like 3-5 level games. And the ball, like the returns weren't as spinny, the serves weren't as fast. And in those matches, I was like, man, this paddle is so forgiving. Like it doesn't.
Interesting.
And so like, I wonder if I give too much weight to the twist weight and forgiveness level of a paddle it's almost like kind of it depends sort of scenario.
I wonder, do you think you were just hitting the ball more center when you're playing lower level?
Maybe that was it. Like it was easier to find the center of the paddle because the ball's not moving as fast.
Yeah, just more time to think. But
if I only played those people with that paddle, I would have thought the paddle was like super forgiving.
But you have to realize your level, right? So like for me, that would equate to me playing like a 2.5 or 3.0 or something. So like you have to think that it's I think as you get better, right? If you got to a 6.0, you're probably like always hitting the ball really flush. Like you're hitting the center because that's just how good you are. Like when I talk about forgiveness, my rudimentary brain is going towards like, how soft does it feel, regardless of where I'm really hitting the ball?
Yeah.
That's what I was speaking of, is like,
yeah, it's kind of the same idea. Like, yeah, like how responsive is the ball when is it still going over the net when you miss the center of the paddle kind of deal?
Yeah.
That's a great call out. Like, yeah, maybe the paddle wasn't any more forgiving, but I was just finding the center of the paddle more often because I wasn't as challenged, and it made it, seem more forgiving maybe than it was. But when I'm getting pushed and I'm stretched and I'm not flushing the ball every time, I get more experience with the ball hitting the edge, and it's like, oh man, this is as forgiving.
Yeah, with some paddle jack really, really feeling it.
So that's a great call out. So maybe maybe I should keep the same weight on this because it does matter. Because maybe like a 3-0 isn't going to find the center the same amount as me playing those players. So there
That's
you
my
go.
opinion on it. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. That was that helped me think through that one. But yeah, dude. So that's paddles. Yeah. So I'm going to do the Gearbox review soon. And then I'm going to.
Are you moving forward on the bag thing? Are you going to do the bag reviews?
Oh yeah, that's another thing I'm going to do. So I have like a handful of bags now. I did a post on Instagram. I was like, I want to do this bag thing. People tell me what bags you're interested in. I want to go test all these bags and find the best ones out there, and we'll push and promote those and share those. And a lot of brands reached out to me as a result of that and said, "Hey, try our bags." So some brands are sending me some. I'm buying a bunch of others. Like I bought a Selkirk one. I bought a Yola one. There's some others I'm considering. So I'm gonna buy 4 or 5 bags. This will be the most expensive video I ever made. Or maybe I should just buy them all from Pickleball Central and set them all back when I'm done.
Yeah, or like I don't know. You could you could reset. You could sign them, sell them for more than you bought them for.
Yeah,
you are famous.
Use Pickleball Effect bag.
You know what you should do since you have like so many paddles like that you've tested? You could
Get
like
a random paddle with a bag.
Yeah, exactly. Sell the bag and say, I'm going to throw in a random paddle for you.
Mystery paddle.
People would totally do that.
But there's not a ton of reviews around bags. I'm actually pretty excited about this. And I've been looking into it more, and I've just used the same bags for a long time and haven't really put much thought into it. But as I've been digging into it, there's a lot of different stuff out there. So this will be a fun little experiment and see what I can come up with. And, I think I'm going to categorize it. Like you'll have like your all around better bags. It might be more expensive. There might be more better bags in the budget friendly area. But I think generally speaking, you have like your large, medium, and small size bags. And so I'll probably try and find like my favorite one in each of those categories, and then kind of let people pick, and then maybe have like a, second up that are like notable mentions or something that are more budget friendly. I don't know. But yeah, that's another one I'm going to start doing is bags. So this will be a fun one. But yeah, then doing a review of the Luxx. That one's coming out sooner than people think. And then I have a review of the Neonic. We talked about the Neonic paddle. I have a review of that done, but I messaged them the other day. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to publish this soon." And they're like, "No, don't do it. We're out of stock. We're not going to have stuff for like another month. We don't want. It would be great if you could hold on to it." So I'm going to hold on to that review for a little bit until they get some paddles in. And it's a positive review. I think they did a great paddle. It's a great price, and I think a lot of people will like it who are looking for kind of a more budget friendly option.
Nice.
So that's what we got for Paddle Babble.
Love it. You want to talk some pro stuff?
Let's talk some pro stuff. So Shuffle Draft happened for the Challenger level.
Yeah, Challenger.
Which we still don't know if it's gonna exist next year, do we?
No, we don't know if it's just one big.
But they're moving on. But I guess it matters for this year. So like they're doing the Shuffle Draft. They're picking people up for the remaining events this year. But yeah, tell us what happened there.
Yeah, so I just wanted to run through the biggest newcomers and the biggest folks who were ousted, just so people can kind of keep up if you do care. Hopefully you do. So the biggest on the newcomer side, like folks who were signed this week. So what happens is Challenger level teams can drop people into waivers, although I don't think anyone's really been picked up off a waiver. Maybe they have somewhere in history, but they're in the waivers now. And so here are the
Which
folks
just means they're like available to get signed if somebody wanted to.
Yeah. But even in Challenger level, I don't really think it matters if you're on the waiver or you're just a random Joe Schmo. I think you can pick up whoever you want. Because like Allison Harris, who I'm bringing up, got picked up. She's the one who basically got picked up to go play Premier in Atlanta, she had gone completely undrafted and jumped in and did a pretty good job helping Miami Pickleball get to the semis, which is great. So she's in. Mariana Humberg. She played tennis at Louisville.
I've seen her play some APP stuff. She and Allison Harris have actually played several tournaments together in APP. I don't think they've ever taken gold, but they've gotten a few silvers.
Yeah, I did see they play together too, which is cool. So we'll see how they do. And then I think
not
like
on the same team though, but they just both got
not on the same team. No, Allison went to LA, and I think Mariana went to.
Do you know who their teammates are?
Nah, see now you're pushing it. I don't know. Go look it up.
Sorry. Keep going.
All right, so here's a good one that I think well, I am personally interested in. I like this guy, Callan Dawson. He's finally in. He's back.
Who got put on waivers for him to come in for?
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I think I don't know. I'm curious about why this happened, but Pesa Tione.
He got put on waivers and they picked up Callan.
Yeah. And I wonder if it has to do with attitude or something. I'm not.
Really?
I don't want to spread rumors, but he got really heated. I think I don't know. It might have been at a recent APP or some sort of event where I saw an Instagram post of him just like dogging the ref or somebody. He was really upset, and I think
interesting.
Yeah,
maybe not conducive to like a team environment.
I don't know. I'm not trying to spread rumors.
If you were a GM, would you rather have Pesa or Callan?
I mean, I really like Callan. I think he's a good player. I think he plays higher caliber pickleball. And Pesa's had some wins on the APP side, but it's been with Andre. So it's like everybody wins with Andre pretty much.
Yeah, he dominates the APP. Yeah, that's an interesting pickup because he's one of those players that maybe isn't as well-rounded as in men's, mixed, and singles as other players are. Like he'll do well in men's, as a right sider. He's not quite as strong on the left side in mixed. Like, obviously he'll be a threat and will play well, but he's not as strong there. And then his singles game, I think, is just like non-existent.
Yeah, but Callan's isn't either. I mean, it's tough because
I was talking about Callan.
Oh, I'm sorry, that just meant Pesa. Okay, sorry,
not Pesa. I don't really know Pesa's singles game, but I do think Pesa probably has a little more to offer on both men's and mixed than like a Callan type player.
Yeah, I think he's more aggressive. I just, I don't know. Like Callan to me feels like you could build him around someone similar to like the Colin John story because he's so consistent at the net. If you put him in the right situation with the right player, it feels like a good combination. But even this weekend, they lost first round, him and Jay. Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, as Challenger, I certainly think he's a player, no doubt.
Yep. All right, so here are the folks that are out, so or on waivers. So Marshall Brown is one that you and I talked about with the NML folks on our podcast when the draft happened. Sarah Ansbury, which is actually a really interesting one for me. I was surprised that she got put on the waivers. Dominique Schaefer is one that was like a kind of a standout APP singles player.
She got put on waivers. But do we not know who's replaced these people, or you're just saying?
Oh, we do. Yeah, I was kind of like going here.
These are just notable waivers. Okay.
Yeah, notable. So for the Dominique Schaefer trade, that was not trade, but that was Humberg took her spot.
Oh, so Humberg came in for Schaefer.
Yeah, and then for Pesa we have Callan, Allison Harris. Some of these folks I don't know that well. So Olivia McMillan is who she replaced. Don't know her very well.
I've heard the name, but yeah, I can't really speak to her ability.
And then we all know, like, for folks who don't know, if you missed the tournaments recently, Brooke Buckner is very, very pregnant, about to have a kid. And
she was phenomenal, dude. I couldn't believe how well she moved around and hung.
Yeah, so she's out for a bit, but Sierra, I'm gonna butcher this last name, Gaetan Leach is taking her spot.
Gayton, I think.
Is it Gayton? Okay, yeah, Gayton Leach is taking her spot, and then yeah, so Humberg with Schaefer, and I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that was really. Riley Bonnert? She plays APP. She does a pretty good job of keeping up with her social media. I'm not sure how well she plays, but good social media presence. She's taking over Krista Gacheva's spot.
Okay.
And then Kelsey Gambro took over Sarah Ansbury's spot. But I don't know anything about Kelsey.
So the next MLP event got moved to Dallas, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great for the players.
There's a lot of players in that area.
Well, it's great because it's right before Nationals, I think. There's tournaments like it's back to back.
Oh, so they don't have to travel and stuff.
They don't have to travel from California to Dallas.
It's probably why they did it.
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. And I mean, the sad part is it probably tells you that there wasn't great ticket sales, I would say. Because otherwise you'd have to refund all those people.
Yeah, that's true. Because it was going to be in San Clemente, I think.
I think that's the last one of the year.
This is somewhere in California.
Yeah, still
somewhere in
LA
California, and then they moved to Dallas. But yeah, that's coming up soon. But we also had the PPA Vegas this weekend. So this was a tournament where we had a lot of interesting matchups, and I I did get to watch some. I didn't watch the finals today because I was playing in that mixed event. But there's a lot of talk about Anik Lohani, who made it to the singles final, played Ben, this dude out of was it Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think he's played in some events, but just a big breakout tournament for him. He beat JW Johnson. He beat Hayden Patriquin, and there's someone in the first round that was pretty solid.
Yeah, and like Hayden had made it through, and Hayden had beat somebody good too.
Yeah, Hayden beat Fed.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So it was obviously phenomenal. So that was definitely a break on his part, but he had to get some big wins, and he did. And looking at the scores for the final, him against Ben, he had I think he had 5 and 6 points. So he put up a fight. He didn't get walked over. But yeah, someone new to keep your eye on for singles. So that was fun to see. Then we had James. So James and Matt played together.
That was one we wanted to look out for. Yeah,
that was one we called out last week, and they were playing really well. They were winning, and then they dropped out.
Yeah.
So
I guess James hurt his ankle.
He hurt his ankle, so they didn't get knocked out because they lost. It was because of an injury.
But they would have had to play Ben and Colin. So I'm curious. I mean, they were playing really well. I just wonder if this would have been the time, because we'll get to the championship in a moment, but just based on what I saw in the championship, maybe James and Matt had the chance this weekend to go all the way.
Yeah, it would have been fun to watch. Matt is definitely one of the best right-siders, and that they had James on the left. And when you have someone who can counter like Matt, I mean, their combined hand speed is pretty phenomenal.
There's a good stat you should come up with: combined hand speed. That'd be good.
Yeah, there you go. Combined DUPR, combined hand speed.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they team up again. I don't know what the future is for them, but it'd be fun to see them play together again. And then we had Riley. So Riley Newman and AJ Kohler played together again. They lost in the quarterfinals to Fed and Pablo, which they've lost to before. So this is, I think, the second time Riley and AJ have lost to them, have been knocked out by them. Ever since Riley left Matt, he just hasn't been as relevant. Maybe Riley isn't as good as we all thought he was. What do you think?
I don't know. He's good. I mean, I watched him play in person. He's good. And he feels like a dominant presence on the court. But Tyra and Christian beat him in mixed day too. And Christian was playing really well. And
he was playing with Irvin. So he had a good partner.
No, I mean, it was funny too, because Christian, the last 3 or 4 points, he hit the exact same play every single time. The third shot dropped to Riley. And I thought that was interesting. He got the ball every single time on the return, and he dropped it to Riley. Riley, a couple times tried to dink, but then tried to do that little 2-hand backhand speed up. Tyra's hands were amazing and put it back. So I don't know. I'm not saying he's on the out, but I just, I guess recently it's been kind of
it almost feels like it. It almost feels like it.
Rough MLP for him. It's been a rough few tournaments.
Well, I mean, he took second, didn't he? It wasn't a rough.
Well, yeah, but they were up 2-0.
Yeah, but that's still a great finish. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a little underwhelming since the change, but it was a big tournament for Christian. I feel like Alshon, this was a step in the right direction for him. He had, like you mentioned, the big win against Riley and Irvin, and then he played well in men's doubles as well.
Yep.
So good for him for stepping up. And then in the finals for the men's was JW and Dylan against Ben and Colin. This is kind of becoming the norm here. Did you get to watch it? I didn't, because I was playing to.
No, I just watched some highlights. I was zooming through it, and they were up. JW and Dylan were up 2-0.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they had won 11-7, 11 something, and then it just was of course, the Ben show, and it seems like they just ran away with the last. Not ran away, but they were close games. But they won 3 games in a row to close it out.
That's new, because it doesn't seem like they put up a big fight the last 2 times they met. So, all right, maybe we're seeing a shift there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just curious if those guys are still going to break up. There was rumors that, and not in a bad way. There was rumors they were going to split up and try some new
JW and Dylan.
Yeah.
Oh, where did you hear that?
This was around the time they were doing the MLP draft, and there was rumors that JW wanted Gabe on his team, and it's because I think he wanted to try playing some doubles with Gabe, and then he was going to maybe try that out in some PPAs as well.
Well, it looks like they're staying together for now, and I don't, unless one of them pairs up with Riley, maybe.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know where they would go. But women's side, Waters Parento, another win. Annalie, she got her triple crown, I believe.
Yeah.
But Waters Parento played Callie Smith and Kovalova, so like they came back.
Put up again. A good fight too. There was some really good points.
They won a game, so they won the first game and then lost the next 3. But it was fun to kind of see them. They will randomly get championship Sunday appearances. It seemed like at the beginning of the year they were pretty consistent, and then kind of fell off. But lately, like they still pop up. They're still relevant. They'll get big wins here and there. And so it was a good tournament for them. And but yeah, the Waters and John show continues.
Yeah, I just think if Tyra and Christian keep playing together, that might be the one to look for as some, just someone new to come through, because James and Anna are crushing it. They continue to make it pretty far every tournament. They went to the championship again, but Christian and Tyra had to play them, right? So,
but yeah, it was a great day for them. They've been consistent and they're mixed. So like they're obviously a good team.
I guess it's interesting. So today they withdrew and no one played in their place. Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah, I mean, third place was already
played.
Already played. Right? It was done. Yeah, so I mean, Anna and James, like they deserved second place, so there's no reason.
Yeah, I was at a tournament watching my dad today, so I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I was not as
in tune.
Yeah.
But I think that wraps it up for us, man. All right, signing out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Logan, always a pleasure.
Thank you. Later.